Good afternoon and welcome to UnitedTV. My name is Kamal Arkan. Today is August 16, 2024, and our political series, our Governor, John Carney, is going to be with us. Governor Carney, are you there? And you can actually now turn your camera on.
I am here. Good to be with you again.
How are you doing? So it's a pleasure to have you again. But this time we are having you here for a different reason. The last two times we addressed the issues from the state of the state discussions, the presentation that you had. Today we are going to focus on your new campaign as a future mayor of the city of Wilmington. So first of all, I want to kind of thank you for what you have done with you and your team as a governor, because you have maybe one of the most difficult times for any governor can actually. Not every governor would see the COVID pandemic. You were there and you actually handled everything for the state. Manage that crisis, because that had a huge impact, not just for the state, but also for our country and the world. And you managed that extremely well, and that's why we are here today. And I believe now we learn a lot from that. So again, thank you. And now when I look at what Delaware went through in the last 8 years, one of the accomplishments that I see is the decrease on unemployment rate. So right now, where we started versus where we are today, those numbers are much, much better than where it was 8 years ago. And this is despite the fact that we have COVID. So if we didn't have that COVID, it was going to be even probably better. But even with COVID, we have better numbers than where we were in 2017. Now, one of the other accomplishments that I see and I want to acknowledge is your infrastructure plans and almost $4 billion American dollars on the transportation needs of this state. And I believe we have to do a lot of good things for the state of Delaware, and you are there. And there are so many others, but one other thing that I want to mention too, actually really important one, the opioid crisis, which is a real issue where everyone has to really have better understanding, and your policies, procedures, and your action that you took to control these. That's also another notable achievement that I see. Now, the criminal justice and public safety, and how the state and the city altogether it improved where we were from 8 years ago, and those are all great things. And maybe one of the long-term and one of the most core investment you have done is in our education system, and this is with our public school system and almost $50 million funding that was allocated for education. And these are, as a governor, to me, I was telling you before, and I was thinking that you were going to be either the vice president or the next senator, or I don't know. There's a lot of potential for you. You are a young person, but you really have this connection with the city of Wilmington. So let's talk about Wilmington and your new campaign. And of course, this is supposed to be an objective program, but I'm a big supporter, and I try to do whatever I can from our side to support you. So I may be a little bit biased with my questions, but I also have some important issues that I believe should be discussed for the future of city of Wilmington. So let's start with this. So why do you want to be the mayor of Wilmington?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to join you again and to have some discussion about what's happening in Delaware, across the state, and specifically in the city of Wilmington. I have been out knocking on doors. We have knocked on almost 8,000 doors at this point, not just me, but volunteers that work with me. And It's an opportunity to talk to Wilmingtonians about what the challenges that they have and problems that they have in their individual neighborhoods. It's a great opportunity for me. I've lived in the city for almost 40 years, but you don't get a chance to see things up close and personal on each street, each block, each neighborhood like you do if you walk through those neighborhoods and knock on doors, talk to the residents there, and everybody's very positive. There are issues in every neighborhood for sure, but they've been very positive to our leadership, my leadership specifically through the pandemic. And these are folks mostly who have voted for me in the past, and it's really feels good from my perspective to know that they believe that I've been trying to do the right thing. I mean, that's kind of my approach has always been try to do the right thing, be honest with people, and then do what you say. But that question about why am I running for mayor when I've been governor, it's really about the issues that you just talked about, making sure that we continue to create jobs and those jobs and that prosperity is spread through every neighborhood, that we work on housing and redevelopment in every neighborhood. In fact, if you look we've spent more money, the state government and federal government, on neighborhoods in the city of Wilmington than any really time in our history, and all that public money really has been going to the neighborhoods. There's a lot of investment downtown and on the riverfront. The vast majority of that investment is private dollars, not taxpayer dollars. You have to have both. And so if I'm fortunate to be elected mayor, my focus would be on those commercial corridors across the city. So North Market Street, we've already made investments there in a new library up around 40th Street. There are investments going just over the Washington Market Street Bridge there in Brandywine Village, and some really exciting things there. Northeast Boulevard with the new Riverside is a really exciting project. We get great leadership up there by Logan Herring and the board that works on that. The purpose-built community, as is referred to, new housing, both rental and market rate for home ownership for low-income folks. We've been making the current administration has been making significant investments with state and federal money in neighborhoods, eliminating vacant houses through the land bank and other programs. More investment has been going into those city neighborhoods than I can remember, certainly in my nearly 40 years here in the city. And that needs to be our approach going forward. There's a lot of momentum behind riverfront development, downtown development. We were just fortunate to announce the decision by Insight, which has a facility on Augustine Cutoff outside of the city limits, I might add, to expand in the city on Rodney Square with ultimately close to 1,000 new jobs, which will be a real shot in the arm. And it'll be to the benefit of every Wilmington taxpayer. But probably the most important thing are two things that we hear a lot about, but doing a better job educating our young people so that they can be the workers of tomorrow. Our city's only going to be as strong as the young people that are coming up to do the jobs located here. And public safety, if we're going to attract new business and keep those there, and really, more importantly, address the needs of every resident. And everybody wants to feel safe in their neighborhoods. I was just in one of the senior high rises the other day, and they were I asked them, what are their biggest concerns? Biggest concern was safety in their building, people coming in and out from outside. And that's got to be a number one priority in helping the school districts do a better job for city children right up there at the top. So there's been a lot of good things happening. In some cases, the prosperity hasn't been shared broadly enough, and we really need to work on that. And I bring the leadership and the connections with state government and the federal government really to bring those extra resources to Wilmington neighborhoods.
So one question regarding when you actually, because I see all of your social media posts, and then you go from door to door and trying to kind of talk to these people, what are the reactions that you see from the people when they see you?
Yeah, the first reaction I always get is they'll turn it to somebody in the house and say, "Hey, the governor's at the front door." They're a little bit surprised that I'm there, and then of course when I explain that I'm running for mayor, and they ask that question, "Well, why are you running for mayor? You were the governor," and I tell them the reasons, and it's really about them, and it's about their neighborhoods, it's about their children, their grandchildren. And I'm committed to the work. It's not for me. I could retire and relax, but I've got a lot of juice left, and I've got a lot of experience, leading the state through the pandemic and some difficult times. And I think we've done some really good things in economic development. We haven't seen the results yet on the education side, but I'm confident that we're going to get there. The resources have been increased, particularly for low-income children, and that'll be a big help. But we need to execute. We need to support the Wilmington Learning Collaborative and Dr. Burgos. She's fantastic, and it is really a district within the districts. It's a city district essentially, with the board members representing the different school districts and city neighborhoods, city parents. Mayor does get an appointee. The governor selects the chair of the board, and I'm excited about those, but we really need to deliver. And the way to do that is to work together, not to point fingers here and there, but to work together, focus on what the children's needs are. And it's certainly in early education before they show up at kindergarten and first grade. And we've made a huge investment, particularly in lower income families. We've more than doubled the appropriation for early education and childcare to 129 million. When I was working for then Governor Pepper, there was no state money that went into childcare. It's very different now. You got to get the children when they're younger, prepare them to come to kindergarten and first grade and learn how to read. They learn how to read from birth to third grade, and then they read to learn after that. So you need to have them prepared by third grade to be reading proficiently. And frankly, we're not doing the job that we need to do at the moment. But that's one of the reasons that I want to continue to serve, to really lean into that. As mayor, the mayor doesn't have a real role in all that, but can be an advocate for city children and city families.
Especially with your background and then what you already have done as a governor, that accumulate the experience that you have, even if it's not a direct responsibility, but being able to guide those who are going to be responsible and work with them, I think that's really important. Now, I do want to actually, just maybe it's a confession, whatever you want to call it, but I never envy or I'm never jealous of anyone, but there are times that I am a little bit. So that's when people are able to make time from their busy schedules and dedicate some time for those volunteer work that you are actually championing. And I see you coaching high school kids, middle school kids. I don't know if you're still doing that, but being able to do that on top of everything else that you are doing, I think that's a lot. That's really important. So, and I always try to kind of see what I can do. I know I do, provide platforms for people to do it. Maybe I financially help these institutions on the nonprofit side. And as you know, friend of mine, Valley SPCA, I'm on the board of that. YWCA, we work very closely with them, food bank. But that's easier. Like the money part is easier, but being able to show your face and do the work and spend the time, that's something that I really admire. And how do you do that?
Well, for me, it's what I like to do. It's fun. When my boys were younger and my nephew living around the corner from where we are, we used to participate in the YMCA basketball, flag football, you name it. and I coach those teams. I actually is one of the reasons that I'm committed to the city, because I've met so many of the residents, so many of the other young
Mhm.
people that are now adults, frankly, and I see them all the time as I work my way around the city, and some of the adults that we're coaching in those coach my boys in baseball and in football and basketball, mostly in the city. It was just I just love to do it. I mean, it's how I enjoy my time away from business. But it's really important for our young people and making sure that they have the support, that they have the activities that are positive. I mean, one of the biggest challenges that we have is keeping our mostly young boys out of neighborhood groups and gangs, and they get into these disputes with other neighborhood gangs, and actually young teenagers picking up guns and shooting one another. I mean, it's just horrendous. And so we've got a very, we think, effective approach to that, and getting more of a social worker approach to the individuals that are involved in these groups and gangs, and getting them to put the guns down, or else the police department is going to come down hard on them. It requires us to, or the Attorney General and Wilmington PD. We don't cross that line of law enforcement. It's really trying to get these guys out of the gangs. A lot of them have already have criminal offenses, and they've been to jail or to the detention center at Ferris. So it's really hard on the ground, case by case work. And it kind of goes to, in some ways, the work that, in a different kind of way, that I was involved in, and the other adults who were coaching the youngsters growing up with my boys across the city. It was a lot of fun, but I think meaningful as well. And I believe the city, with its parks department, can really help the schools with after school programs, with summer programs. If the children aren't meeting the standard, they need to have extra time. If they're behind, they need extra time after school, weekends, in the summer. And that's where our parks and our community organizations have a role. We just invested $14 million in the new Kingswood and that whole new neighborhood up in the Northeast. We've invested $20 million on the east side with People Settlement. That's going to be a big addition to the new neighborhood there with housing that's going to affordable homeowners and renters, and the brand new Pritchett Academy to replace Bancroft School there on Lombard Street. And it's going to be a transformation in that neighborhood, but it's really about the people. We've got to focus on the young people and the seniors who live there, and that is largely about public safety.
So, Governor Carney, one of the other points that I want to make, during your 2 terms, you also put a lot of emphasis on diversity, especially in our court system. I think you are one of the governors who appointed most number of female judges in the system, and I know there's still room to improve, but you are already, I mean, as Delaware, we are already ahead of this, and you have done so much for that. Now, in terms of these issues that we have with the education system and public safety, I know our legal system is extremely important, but also the city, the mayor's office, the governor's office, the attorney governor's office. These are extremely important places that we need help, and we need those guys to work together. And one thing that it kind of bothered me when our legal system was attacked by 2 different times, and I know we are going to focus on Wilmington, and I don't want to get into it too much, but it just personally bothered me that outsiders, people who are not from Delaware, just because they don't get the outcome that they want, then they are able to kind of force us to do things or change our legal system and our court system and all that. That bothered me a lot. I just want this to be on the record. And
yes, yeah, I appreciate that. It bothered me a lot too, because it's based on false information. The reality is our courts are as diverse as ever. I appointed the first African American to the Delaware Supreme Court. And then when she was elevated, Justice Montgomery Reeves, and she had been the first African American, as I understand it, on the Chancery Court, which is where the complaint from this outsider who got a decision that he didn't like. So she became, when I appointed her to the Supreme Court, and then President Biden elevated her to the federal court, and I filled that position with another African American young fella who's this Chris Griffiths, who's the son of Norm Griffiths, a long-term lawyer in our community leader. He was our city councilman in this district for a long time, and just wonderful people both. So the first two African American Supreme Court justices. We've not been able to replace Montgomery Reeves on Chancery Court because we haven't had an African American apply. We have. I have made the chancellor a woman, a woman, but we've added two other women. So we're the most diverse Chancery Court in that perspective. And the diversity on the lower court, Superior Court, not a lower court, but my goal is to make the courts, my cabinet, look like Delaware. And we've been able to achieve that with over 20%, 25% African Americans on the Superior Court. We'll continue to do that, Court of Common Pleas and the JP courts as well. It's always an issue there in my mind in terms of getting the diversity there, because it's an important part of having folks feel like they're represented. Same with the cabinet, that was as diverse as any cabinet in the history of our state. And it's important across the board. You know, when we talk about city businesses and the availability of work for women and minority-owned businesses, that's something that we focused on, and I focused on as governor. We had a program called EDGE grants, and these were grants to small businesses. We just had the presentation of the 100th of these grants, and 33% went to minority business owners, 40% to women-owned businesses. And that's an opportunity to invest in the kind of broad diversity that's important in our community, so that everybody shares in the prosperity of Delaware.
And that's important. And you know, these are unfortunately, when you look at the media, you don't see these readily available. You have to kind of search what you have done in the last 8 years with your team, with your cabinet. And when I was researching for the other issue with the super PAC related, I'm like, well, how would they even, complain about our diversity if we are one of the most diverse already? But then you realize that it's just like whoever has the money and financial means, they can put their agenda out there, and I think that can be in some cases it can be very unfair. And
it was disturbing to see Delaware elected officials and candidates stand behind people that have came to Delaware from out of state and were using false information and attacking really a center of excellence for our state, which is we have among probably the most respected judiciary in the country at every level. We have representation, African American representation on our Superior Court, equal representation arguably on the Superior Courts. Not so much on Chancery because we haven't had any applicants, and that goes back to the original priority, which is improving the education of children in the city. I mean, you don't become a lawyer and a judge like a couple years before you get to that point. It has to go all the way back to your early education, and that's why it's so important. We are in the process now working with the Longwood Foundation to bring the Delaware Law School into the city of Wilmington in those buildings on Rodney Square. Delaware State University health and nursing programs as well would be the lead tenants. Very excited about that. Would bring real opportunity for city residents and residents from across the county and the state to get that education they need to be successful.
So, Governor Carney, one other thing I wanna share with you, and I was just telling you a little bit right before we went live, but last time we had this event, I was in my Bear office in New York, Bear. I think it's just Bear now. So today, actually, this is our second month. We are in the city, not knowing that we were going to run for this mayor position. We already decided, but I'm so glad that we are actually now, going for this. This is why this is important for me. I'll tell you. So we had a lot of reservation before we got to this decision and see if we could actually do it in the city. We have two different businesses. One is our medical office, our primary care, and some subspecialties, and the 600 Delaware Avenue. I think you mentioned that used to be a restaurant, Irish bar, I believe, at some point, right in the 80s and early 90s. So that's our new medical center for our United Medical Clinic. And now I was just checking the numbers. So we see anywhere from 300 to 400 patients every week in that location. Now, 2 years ago, I was not 100% whether or not this would work, but I knew the location was the right place. There were some logistic issues with parking and others, but we were able to overcome those. And then seeing all the improvements that we have in the city of Wilmington, when our business office, with more than 120 people here, I felt very comfortable to be in the city, and then we moved our main headquarters to 800 Delaware Avenue. So I wrote you about maybe 150 people in the last 18 months. So, and then a lot of patients are going through our offices here. And so far, I love being here. I'll tell you that. So I think city of Wilmington maybe is a little bit underrated, and I think it needs to be emphasized and highlighted a little bit better. And I know our current mayor is doing a lot, but I think this is a partnership. It's not just the mayor's office, but everyone needs to kind of understand this is one of the most important cities in the United States, with more than half of the Fortune 500 companies incorporated in Delaware. That's why also this legal issue bothered me from that point to Governor. So because, hey, we have this business-oriented state and the city. Now we are attacking our legal system. We are not going to let that happen, but focusing on the positives. So we are really happy here. So we're going to actually, hopefully you can actually visit us here and see our operations. There are things that we need to take care of. One you mentioned earlier is the public safety. So our building is a secure building, our garage is secure, but almost 65% of my office is females. Sometimes, because it's light out, it's not as problematic. But when it's dark, we want them to be safe. I know there are some. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but we have some beggars at those traffic lights. They're coming from apparently Philadelphia, and they're kind of being dropped off on 95. I know Puccini Group, Ron Puccini mentioned that they're working with the mayor's office to put additional fencing and others. But I think there's better kind of better, more oversight, not maybe better, but there's more oversight needed, especially in the rush hours. So, and then I will talk to you more in that, and hopefully we can actually address that problem. But one other thing that I can also mention, as you know, I'm pretty close to this office from here now, about 2.5 miles. So, and I normally don't leave my neighborhood to walk somewhere else. But in the last 3-4 months, I come to Riverfront. So, and I haven't seen all those new stuff for almost 5 years. I didn't go there. So it's amazing. So many people know, but many people don't really know how nice we have it here in the city and also the riverfront. I think riverfront turned out to be a great project. So you were also there in the beginning of riverfront. You were one of those people who supported riverfront, which at that point a lot of people didn't see the future, but you did support that. And these things takes time. Riverfront started 15 years ago, almost, and to see the actual results, it may not be in your term of the government, I mean the governor or the mayor, but you know that in 3-4 terms, this will have a good impact. And that's why I believe what you do and what you have done for Delaware is extremely important, because you've been in these positions for so long, so that we can actually take the experience from one place and put it somewhere else. And I think you're going to be a great mayor. So
yeah, I mean, you're right when you say that we're maybe one of the most underrated cities. We're certainly underrated. I think we're one of the best small cities certainly around, and maybe in the country. We've got so many things going for us in a very small city of just a little bit over 70,000 people. We're growing. We've got and businesses like yours, the smaller businesses that are populating to the city, coming to the city, are incredibly important. We've got a huge hospital complex right down the street from where you are. We've got lots of amenities in the YMCA, the YWCA, the various places for people. We've got activity, social and cultural activity across our city. And there's so many assets that we have, and people rightly focus on some of the issues and the problems, and that's part of the mayor's jobs. You mentioned the homeless issue. It's a big one and really needs to be dealt with compassionately, but in a way that's respectful also of people who live in the neighborhoods, people live in the senior high rises, business people all across the city. So that we continue to grow and prosper. And that takes experience, that takes the ability to bring additional resources, since the tax base is somewhat limited in the city. And I think that's what I bring to the table. And just an unbelievable amount of optimism about what we can be. We contacted the 76ers about possibly building an arena here. Yeah, is it a long shot? For sure, but let's think about ourselves in a bigger way.
You know, that 76ers, it makes perfect sense because we have the best train system on this side. So then from Philadelphia to here, many people they want to be on a train than just stuck in traffic for hours. So I'm sure Sean.
Yeah, I mean, I know that 76ers, they want to be in downtown Philadelphia. They've had some problems getting different things that they need there. So I know that Governor Murphy, my friend from New Jersey, he contacted them as well. And so I just thought it's just good, I think, for people in the region, business people and others, to know that we're in competing, and we want to be considered really a great little city in a great state. And I'm going to keep pushing that. I'm not going to say we can't do it. We're not big enough. We're not good enough. We're not whatever. Let's be positive. Let's be optimistic for everybody in our city and for our little state.
Yeah, and I know you are going to do a lot of good things for this city and for the state, as you have done before. And we are here to support you. Also, we'll be vocal about our issues. That's something I can really complain about things if I really believe that it needs to be fixed. And you do listen, so that's extremely important. Even if we don't have a solution, for someone to listen to the problem and try to understand where we are coming from and find a solution together, that's also what we are looking for. And it is my honor to host the future mayor of Wilmington, John Carney. Governor Carney, thank you so much. I know you have a tight schedule today and you were able to meet us, and I do appreciate that. And we'll be seeing you soon.
Well, it's great to be with you. And just one parting comment, and that is we owe a huge thanks to the President of the United States, Joe Biden, who really put us on the map, serving as he did for over 30 years in the United States Senate, Vice President of the United States, President of the United States. You know, he's done so much for Delaware and for the country. And just my heart goes out to him and thanks, frankly. And I think history will treat him well and for how he led all the way till he passed the reins over to Kamala Harris, and she's been doing tremendous. And a large part of that is due to the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
I agree. Well, thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Kamal.
All right. So, Sean, you can join me.
There I am.
So this was a good session. So
Yeah.
again, as a reminder, many people that we are in the same room here, so different, same background. So I do like this setup much better than our other setup.
Yeah. There's less obstacles and
Yeah.
different things to manage. But yeah, obviously a great session. Governor Carney now with his campaign going for Mayor of Wilmington. You know, I think a lot of political people, when you see careers in advancing, normally the steps taken are starting off small and they're expanding a little bigger, bigger, bigger. But in this sense, it's almost the opposite, where going from managing the entire state now down to specifically focusing just on the city. I don't see him having any issue with managing.
So one of the thing is, you know, the emotional connection to where you live.
Yeah,
So,
he's been here 40 years.
to be able to serve better, I think that's the key. And you know, time to time I had made some decisions with Governor Carney, but my personal time I was there to support him. He has that. I mean, he loves the state and he loves the city. He lives in the city, and he's been in the same place for a long time. Like it's just because he became governor or he was a congressman, he didn't change where he lived.
Right.
He's in the same place where he was 20 years ago in terms of his residence. And that's also kind of like a way of showing your trust and your commitment to where you live. So I think those are good intangibles, but the tangible part is the experience. The tangible thing is the accomplishment. So, I mean, someone who's been serving for so long knows the system, but still is young enough to do more. So the worst thing would be for someone like him to retire and not do much. Right now, he's able to do a lot of things more efficiently. Like today, like I'm a little bit older than you are, so I'm 50 years old, right? So as a 50-year-old versus 20 years old, 20 years ago, I do things quicker. I do things, I see things better. And that comes with the experience. So it may be, I may spend less, I may have less time to do certain things, but I don't need more time anyway because
Right, the efficiency.
the efficiency is there. So I think those are going to be really important. And also we need a very efficient mayor. We work in the city now.
Yeah.
I mean, I take a walk around the block and I want to feel safe. And if they're not going to listen to us, right, so that's going to be a problem because I have employees. I want them to be safe while they're here. We want to take precautions, but we don't want to be walking on edges every minute. So this is important to have someone who understands the dynamics of the city and knows this city very well. So I think it's going to be a great mayor, and we'll see that in a couple of months anyway. So what else do we have today?
Yeah. So with our session here, I know it's about 20 minutes left. Speaking of the campaigns, obviously we just focused on Carney with his campaign for mayor. We also do have updates regarding the race for governor. We know obviously it's a big election year for various positions, even on the presidential level. But we do have some slides here just to give a little bit of updates on governor race. Let's get that pulled up. And then actually, I think it just started. It is the video loop, so it's a little bit ways in. But one of the things we do want to talk about in respect to this topic was the salaries by age and the various tax plan that some of the candidates had proposed.
I think this was mainly last week. Matt Meyer was saying that I'm gonna go after the ultra rich and tax them more, right? So that's how it started. And then when we discuss this internally, hey, hold on a minute. So this is a big lie because someone tried to go after the ultra rich, they need to go through the middle class first. So now you have the rest.
Yeah, so basically, which actually let me see if I can pull up the specific. This one here should be from 2023. It's called up at the top, but these are basically just the income range and the tax rate that you pay respective to that range. And then on the very right column, you see the taxes due. But I guess based on the cropping, it's called at the bottom, but that last category was anyone making over 60,000. You do have that set fee of, I believe it was about $29.50, and then 6.6% on anything above that 60,000 in your earnings. So basically, as you're saying, you can't just focus on a certain band of income, like it would proportionally be going up for everybody, because obviously that equality. So yes, there are various income ranges, but if you're going to be planning to have a higher percent up here, respectively, the other ones could be in correlation increasing also.
So the tax is a really tricky subject. So anyone is telling you that they're going to go after those who make more. They're going to tax them more. They're not actually. The reason they're saying that is because they don't understand the tax system. So the thing is, fine, you don't understand. I understand Matt Meyer doesn't have that, education and those technical understanding of the issue. But then you can look at what has happened in California when they were going after the business owners. What did they do? They moved. So where's Elon Musk now?
Yeah,
in Texas. Where was he before? In California.
So
Especially if you make the state like Delaware, you just talked about with Governor Carney, more than half of the Fortune 500 companies that are incorporated here, their legal issues are dealt here, and some economics to that. So if you make this state more expensive to live, things are going to slowly move out. Now, one thing that I believe you mentioned earlier with like our neighbor, Meyer here, right? They pay half of what we pay already. So my house is only 3 to 4 miles from PA border. So if you try to tax me more, guess what people are going to do? They're going to go to the other side of the border.
Yeah,
and these are kind of
Jersey, all of those parts.
Right. I mean, there are places. Now, the other thing is that I look at I shared this last week. Our real estate school and real estate tax, it's already up by 13%. And those who don't know if it's already higher than what it was last year, you should be getting your bill anytime this week or last week. You already maybe received them. I already scheduled mine. I'm going to pay 12.7% more than what I paid last year. And then I checked all the records from the Newcastle County standpoint. There was not going to be any tax hikes in real estate and school taxing. So now it already happened. The thing is, when you look at the salary and age bracket that you are showing, so our high income, high tax bracket starts at $60,000. So from the household standpoint, a lot of household middle class are already 6 figures anyway. They're already paying these taxes from 60. So if you are going to have other brackets, you are going to end up penalizing middle class. So there are so many of the middle class people, when you are increasing their taxes, and there's so little of the alternatives that he's talking about. Those people are people who are actually supporting him. So how is that going to happen? Like if the ultra rich is financing your campaign and you are saying that, oh, I'm going to tax them, I will question your motivation there. Now, every time you lose the balance on tax ratios, states, federal governments, they lose. Like this is also true even at the country level. So if one country is more expensive than the other in terms of the income taxes, these people ultra rich gonna move from one place to another. What difference does it make for them?
Yeah.
Right. Like we know that we are Irish, so Ireland is one of the heavens for business. Why? Is because of the tax policies. So
Right. They'll put their business in the Cayman Islands, right?
Right.
People say, oh, well,
Right.
tax there.
So, and the other thing that I see, John, when you lose that balance again, and when you are going after those who are actually making things possible. Let's talk about me personally, right? So fine, you tax me, but then if I don't work as much as I do, how many people I employ? Right? So if I don't want to work as much anymore because I'm being taxed at the crazy level, so then it's going to impact our growth from here, number of people that we employ, and if there are not enough people being employed, they're going to end up in the unemployment offices, and who's going to pay for them? State's going to pay for it. So this is just, to me, it's cheap, kind of popular, things to say, but reality is not that. Reality is you have to keep the taxes in certain bounds. It needs to be competitive with surrounding states, and it has to be fair. So you don't need to target people or groups saying that I'm going to do this to this group. Well, that group is supporting you. I mean, 1.7 million, 700,000 came from 5-6 different sources. So they are ultra rich. I'm not ultra rich. Those are ultra rich who are supporting, right? So then we see these issues, and when I saw that, because I'm like, give me a break, like, we're not stupid. So we read and we understand what could have happened, and it's my obligation and it's your obligation to guide the public in the right direction. So these are just popular statements; they are not real. So one of the other things that I will mention, we, I guess, in this, in business, let's say, what I got to understand more and more, and also educate myself is, I think, being a woman in this business world is extremely difficult. Now, this is also true for politics. One of the things, other than Bethany Holland's accomplishments and her qualifications, one of the reasons that I also kind of see the issue is how this establishment of men going after a woman just because she's a woman politician. Now, let me kind of, I never I try not to make any statements or try not to have opinions without data and statistics. There was an article the other day, and this was the AP, the Associated Press Agency, is publishing this. It's, Bethany's person used time was used for the campaign manner issues. Well, this is the only person who did this. So you and I, we scheduled Meyer for this event last year, right, in July.
Yeah.
So who did you communicate with? Meyer's executive assistant. What was the signature on that? It was, I mean, we don't need to give the name, but it was his executive assistant in the county. And there was another person who was CC'd on, right? That was also a Newcastle County employee. So two Newcastle County employee is trying to get him on this campaign call. Right? And then, well, they're also utilized for the campaign matter. So why is this not a news? But you are talking about the two emails that someone sent from Bethany's office. That's a big deal. That's because you know why? I know now why. Because reading and researching and understanding. So there's this. Oh, I can go after that. Female, I can go after that. That's what the establishment of media today is targeting Bethany Long because she's a woman. But what they forget is she's a woman and she's a very strong person. She's a well-established educator, healthcare provider, and those are the tangibles. So, and I also don't want these things to be promoted and that constantly you are just putting these inaccurate, inconsistent news out there just because she's the favorite. That's another thing. If you look at everything else that we have seen, she's the one who's leading. And guess what? There will be some news gonna come out today. It's not ready, unfortunately, yet, but it will be. And as I promised, I was not gonna say anything until it came out. Just check my email just in case we find out something. Today is not going to be a so great day for Meyer. So, well, this is a channel that's trying to do some objective, trying to put objective perspective on issues. And one of the other thing that is consistent with attacking women politicians is not taking care of issues related to women, just like what happened with those 6 police officers. And I think there are more coming out. So we'll see. Stay tuned for my Twitter account, and we'll be sharing that. So things are not going to be so nice, and we'll be able to see the black and white of the issues and who's who much better. There's a person who's the future for Delaware. That's Bethany Long, and anyone who wants to compete, they should be doing that in the fair rules, fair games. But if they are getting ugly and putting buys out there and being sponsored by those ultra rich who don't live in Delaware, that we have a lot of problems with that. So that's what they're going to be fighting against. So today they should be finishing the billboard, hopefully. Right on, is that Adams Street?
So
Adam 11th. Delaware Avenue and Adams Street. There are 2 billboards that we are going to have for Bethany Long, Kyle Evans, Gay, and Sarah, right? So I am proud to support Bethany Long as our governor, as our future governor. So hopefully things are going to be much better in the next couple of days.
And then just a reminder, when are the primaries again? Because I know we're in the middle of August.
I think September 10th.
All right, so that's maybe like 3-4 weeks away.
Yep, we are about 4 weeks, September 10th. One of the reasons that I delay my Turkey's trip is because of that, so that I want to be here on the day that Bethany wins this race. So it's on September 10th. I think you are saying that because we want people who registered them, perhaps so they can only people who can vote if they registered
For that particular party.
So they should go and support whoever they believe in. I'm not saying they support this person or that, but do your research, analyze what you read. Don't believe everything you hear and you see, especially those ugly commercials. If someone is being targeted that way, that means that person is on something that those powerful, the kind of dirty people are bothered by. So I know we are going to be making the right decision for the future of Delaware. Now we'll have our colorectal event coming up at 2 p.m. Dr. Sachin Wade is going to be with us, and he's asking us to send him the link, but we are on that link, so that's why I didn't send it. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and after that, we'll have Dr. Ergal going to be with us for our Bariatric Friday, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
Great.